Hello and welcome to Go Read Some Books podcast. I'm Shane Skelton with Josh Fillmore. And if you're a leader today and you are struggling with the ever-changing fast pace of this world, stay tuned.
Awesome.
All right, today we're talking about a book that has recently been put out by a man that I've met, and I consider him to be a very intelligent man when it comes to the subject of leadership, and that is John Maxwell. This is latest book called Leadershift, not leadership, but Leadershift, S-H-I-F-T. And basically what this is 11 essential changes every leader must embrace. The world is moving, and as a leader, you're going to have to move with it.
Now, does this book apply to any kind of leader, or is this only on spiritual leaders?
No.
Okay.
John Maxwell, in the flyleaf here, he's the #1 New York best-selling author, coach, speaker. He sold 30 million books in 50 languages. He's been called the #1 leader in business by the AMA and the world's most influential leadership expert by Inc. His organizations include the John Maxwell Company, the John Maxwell Team Equip, and the John Maxwell Leadership Foundation. They've trained millions of leaders from every nation. If you want more information about him, you can visit johnmaxwell.com, learn all about it. Leadershift. Now, we'll probably do quite a few John Maxwell books on this podcast.
Okay.
I think he's got quite a few that are really good. Some mediocre, but I think one or two that is just
now I got to ask.
Apart.
You said you met him personally.
I did.
How did you meet him? Or
At a seminar.
At a seminar. Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't one of those. Hey, here's my cell phone number. Kind of.
Oh no. Gotcha. I've met him. We're not Facebook friends or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Twitter friends, I think.
Are they?
Oh yeah, I think I am. But he'll follow anybody that follows him.
Like a good leader, right?
Yeah, right. That's right. So, but I've read probably every one of his books, and some things he repeats himself with. You know, John Maxwell. I even heard him say this one time. He said he's a master at taking what has been said before and restating it in a more modern way, in a better way. And I kind of agree with that. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great business plan he's built over the years. He's got a great team. They do. I have worked with some of his associates with some of the organizations that he has that goes into churches and helps them raise money and things of that nature. I've been involved with some of that. So I think he's a really stand-up guy. I think he's got a great testimony. He's a well-proven man, well-proven leader. In his latest book, I think is one of his best books. He's got 21 essential laws of a leader. I think ought to be read, and maybe we'll review that one later on. But it's a great book, and really, it's a good book in my life right now. It's a book that I think is timed well for people like myself. So it's a highly recommended book. I mean, he had a lot of advertisement, a lot of publicity that went into promoting this book better than the last books that he had. So I think I think it's a great book. I highly recommend it. But one of the things he says is that you cannot be the same, think the same, and act the same if you hope to be successful in the world that does not remain the same.
It's very true. Very true.
Yeah. So I think that's fantastic. He talks about in the book how you can deal with the tension as a leader between the stability that gives security that I've built my life with. You know, I have stability. This is what has worked, and this is, the thing that gives me my security. I know that when I do this and I'm a part of this, it's been around for a long while. It's tried, it's true.
Right.
But then with the adaptability, I have to be able to adapt. That opens up opportunity. Am I flexible enough to adapt to a changing world that will open up greater opportunities that will eventually lead to security? But then again, there are some uncertainties that it could fail.
Right.
So he deals with the tension between these stability and adaptability, and so I think it's a great book if that's where you are in your life. Now, he asked a question in the introduction of the book, and it's really a personal question. Are you ready to shift as a leader? And then he goes through a course of 7 ways that we need to shift, and then he deals with them more in the book. And so I'll give you the 7 ways, and then hopefully it'll whet your appetite enough to go get the book and read it.
Well, I'm actually excited about this because if there's one genre of books that I really enjoy, and I really, of course, audiobooks by all means, but anything that I really enjoy listening to and really enjoy learning more about is leadership, business, marketing, that kind of deal. Like that's my...
He's great for that.
Yeah, you've really kind of whet my appetite with just this in general because of that fact that that's what I really kind of gravitate towards.
Yeah, and I have read... I think the last count I had, if you include this book right here, this would have been 157th book on leadership that I've read.
Oh, wow.
I've read.
No, I'm nowhere near there.
Yeah. I mean, that's
right.
That's a lot to some and not a lot to others. But I've read a lot of books on leadership, and I can say that Maxwell writes in a way that I get. It's easy for me to read. It's easy for me to comprehend. So that's why I like reading behind Maxwell. Though some things he does repeat, some of his books repeat.
Which is kind of a common trait, though, because...
It is. There's only so much you can
write,
I
mean, once you get to the business and marketing, there's one of the guys that, Grant Cardone, I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not.
Yep.
I've read a couple of his books, and if you've read one, you've got the premise of the others. I mean, exactly. It's kind of the same, kind of the same snowball. We're just going to turn it a different color, you know?
And there's only so much you can say about it, and I can read one leadership book and tell you who they've been reading.
Right.
Because I've read a lot of them.
Right.
So, but... to say all that, I mean, I sing Amazing Grace over and over again too. You know what I'm saying? And I've preached one sermon several times, so there are some things worth repeating,
right?
And but he does well at it. It's not a bore read. It's a very well written book, and it keeps your attention, and the way that it's laid out. Even the typesetting, all that's just easy to read, and so I highly recommend it. But there are 7 ways that he talks about as leaders we have to shift, we have to move in order to keep up with the changing world. And first of all, he talks about how that we as leaders, we must continually learn and unlearn and relearn. And that is true.
Sounds like an oxymoron. But
you got to constantly learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Yeah.
And that is so true because when I graduated school, the things that I had to relearn them, and some of the things wasn't even relevant anymore.
Like algebra?
Yeah.
I mean, can you honestly say
they literally sent me back to school after, I was in school and they said, you're not very gifted in this. And I said, well, I understand that. But so I said, I'm never gonna use algebra. So I took regular business math. I had a choice to do that in school. As a high school, I took the path of least resistance in that. And then when I got out of school, guess what? I got a job that included algebra.
Right.
So they're like, man, you're as dumb as a box of rocks. We'll have to send you back to school.
Yeah,
so they had to send me back to school to learn algebra. It's ridiculous. Awesome. But statistically speaking, in 4 years, you have to relearn 30% of your job because things are just constantly changing. Right. And it's incredible. So the things that, you go to school and you learn today, and in 6 months you have to relearn them because things are just, they're moving. So as a leader, you have to learn, unlearn, and then relearn. And it's a great chapter on that. But then secondly, he talks about the value of yesterday, but yet live in today. So appreciate the value of yesterday. Appreciate your roots and where you come from and what you've learned and all that. But live in today. The baseball great Babe Ruth, he quotes him in the book, is rumored to have said, yesterday's home run doesn't win today's game.
That's true.
So true. And so value yesterday, but live today is a great way to be and a great way to think. Mm-hmm. As a pastor, as a leader, I constantly struggle with, okay, this has worked yesterday, but it's yesterday.
Right.
Does it work today? Some things do, but am I willing to get off the dead horse, and mount another one? So those are struggles that I come up with and deal with as a leader myself. And so
and here's the deal. Two things I want to reiterate to that. One, you've always heard that don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Sure.
But the Ferraris aren't going to run on the wheel that was first invented. So there's got to be improvement. Yes, you have a foundation, but that foundation is where you start, and you have to improve on that, because if you don't improve, you're never going to get any growth. You're never going to get anything else. The second thing that I had a manager when I used to run health clubs for a while, and we didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. But the one thing that he did said that has stuck with me, now this is going on 15 years probably, he said, if you want to change things, you have to change things. Mm-hmm. So you can't get stuck.
That's so profound.
It isn't, right? But I mean, how stupid of a statement, but listen at how, if you want things to change, then you have to change how you do things.
You have to think outside the box.
Right. Because if you don't, you're still going to get the same thing.
Think outside the box, not outside right up next to the box. You have to think outside the box.
Right, exactly.
I value yesterday, but you live in today. And then thirdly, he talks about how that a good leader relies on speed, but thrives on timing. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a key chapter that he talks about in this book, that for every leader, we have to understand that things are constantly moving. And a good leader is moving with it, but at the same time, we have to understand that in order to have success, you don't just move. You got to have great timing.
Right.
Great timing in the move. So good timing enables leaders to seize a moment when the moment's passing you by quickly. Mm-hmm. And that goes for not only ministry, but it goes for business opportunities or entrepreneurs, any type of leadership role. You have to have good timing. I've learned that the hard way. There are things that I've wanted to do that was either ahead of the curve or way behind the curve. So I mean, it's like
it's been like my whole life.
Yeah, I mean, a day late, dollar short has been the theme of my life. Yeah. But I have had a few successes in life where I've swung and hit the ball. It was at the right time, at the right place, and it worked.
Like when you proposed to your wife?
There you go. There you go. James Goldsmith, he said this. He was a financier, but he said, when the leader sees the bandwagon, it's too late to lead.
Right.
And so it's timing. It's timing.
Now, does this book really go into how to identify those types of timing?
It does. And, leaders have a gift for that. So it's an innate ability. It's an innate gift that God gives leaders. But, yeah, he goes into talking about more about that.
Like how to identify things and trends and what are going on.
Sure. Okay. Sure. Number 4. Is that where we're at?
We are.
A leader sees the big picture as the picture keeps getting bigger. And that's a great way to say that. A leader sees the big picture as the big picture gets bigger. The more leadership experience I gain, the more I realize that the picture, it just keeps getting bigger. There's no finish line to this thing. And so the picture that I had yesterday is not as big as I have today. It just gets bigger, and I see it. And I'm a leader shifts to see the big picture, because the big picture is always expanding, and we have to have an open mind to that. Sometimes we get closed-minded, but we need to have an open mind to it. So I think it's a great read about that particular subject as well. And then number 5, live in today, but think about tomorrow. So leaders have a natural bias toward action. We all do. I mean, we get it and get it done yesterday.
Right.
All right. We want action. So we have to be proactive today to stay up with tomorrow. And that's the point that he's making. But however, the longevity of their leadership is determined by how they think and see the future. And staying ahead of the team comes by thinking ahead of the team. You have to be one step down the road than they are. You don't want to be so far out in front of them that you leave them behind.
Right.
But you're always one step ahead of the program. And then you lead people and you coach people. Years ago, I read one of John Maxwell's books. It might have been on 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I forget now which one it was, but he made the statement in there. He said that if you're a leader and nobody's following you, then you're just walking by yourself. You're just taking a trip.
It's kind of obvious. Yeah, that's true.
So, you don't want to be so far out in front of people that you can't lead them, but you have to be one step ahead of the game. And to be honest with you, you have to let people that are leading or that you're leading, you have to let them think that, they come up with the idea.
Well, and that's true, because I've had some leadership roles, and through jobs and stuff like that. And I noticed in my past history with that is that if you allow that person to feel like they're leading themselves, but you're just guiding them down the path.
Yeah.
It works out better in your benefit is to stand on your soapbox and be like, okay, you're going to do it this way. And then the reason that you're going to do it this way is because I said so. Yeah. It comes across as a parent, so to speak, that unruly, that ugly father figure, that nobody likes, like the narcissist of the family, so to speak, And I've always found that if I allow that person to have enough room to feel like they're leading their own ship, I'm just helping them navigate it.
Yeah.
It's always worked out best.
Yeah, absolutely. If they think it's their idea, and if they've come up with it, even though you may have thought it and you're coaching them in that way, if they feel like that they have come up with that idea and it's their plan and they put the blood, sweat, and tears in, they own it, then they'll give you everything they got to make it happen.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that's what you want. Yeah. It's theirs.
I think a lot of leaders fail in the fact that they want to be a leader, meaning they want to be the head person of that group, as opposed to being a team player or a team member of that group and just giving their input to help lead this group to a different area in their life, and that's where I think a lot of the leaders, miss the boat.
Yeah. And then number 6 is that a leader must move forward courageously in the midst of uncertainty. Life expands or shrinks, he says, in proportion to our courage. And that is so true. When leaders fail to make the necessary leader shift because of fear or uncertainty, it only increases their fears, which results then, obviously, in frustration in their life. Mm-hmm. So the greater the inaction of a leader, the more opportunities they lose, because opportunities are always surrounded by uncertainties. Mm-hmm. You see how that works. Mm-hmm. So a good leader, he includes uncertainties, and he understands that, and he embraces that. He does not fear to take the step because of the uncertainty, but he looks at it in courage, and he goes ahead and takes a step anyway. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, look, even if you fail, at least you've tried.
Absolutely.
And I think Maxwell's got a book on failing forward.
So, well, that's the big trend now is, and it's not really a trend. It's just been a foundation that I think has just finally come uncovered that, and it's very valuable. Like, I've already told you that I'm a type A perfectionist, OCD about my perfectionism.
Sure.
And the problem is with me is I don't want to fail. So usually I don't even try. And that's been the biggest thing that I've noticed through a lot of these books is that if you want to succeed, you have to fail, because if you don't fail, you don't know where you need to fix the problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say this, I would rather, to use a baseball analogy, mm-hmm. I would rather swing and miss the ball than not swing and think that I could have hit it.
Right.
Swing for the fence. If I fail, at least I took a swing at it.
Right.
So understand that there are some uncertainties.
Mm-hmm.
As a pastor, there are programs that we do, and there are things that it's like they fall flat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that didn't work.
But then
then I understand.
Right. You can
process.
relook at it, and going back to that baseball analogy, because I played baseball all the way through college, and
all the way from the front door to the back.
That's right. All the way from one end of the bench to the other end of the bench. But anyway, the one thing that talking about that baseball analogy is that once you make that swing and you miss, now you can go back and say, well, why did I miss?
Sure.
Where you can regroup and refocus and relook at it and say, okay, I missed it because of this. So next time at bat, I'm going to try it differently this time. And I think that's where a lot of these, these leadership books are leading towards, is that it's okay to fall flat on your face. Just stand up, figure out why you fell in the first place, and fix the problem.
Yeah. That's not failing. That's not if you learn something from it, how's that failing?
That's correct. That is correct.
It's when you've only failed when you try something, it doesn't work, and you blame somebody else, and you become the victim. Mm-hmm. That's when you failed.
Right.
Well, it ain't my fault if I only had this, only had that. Well, no. If you've learned something from it and you're a better person by it and you understand certain things from it, that's not a failure.
Right.
That's growing, that's learning, and that's part of being a leader.
Right.
So, and then number 7, he talks about realizing today's best will not meet tomorrow's challenges. Mm-hmm. And other people have said that, good is the enemy of the best, things of that nature. But Maxwell made a statement that I underlined in the book. He said, my goal at the end of each day is to feel satisfied because I have gave my very best. But my goal at the beginning of each day is to be dissatisfied enough to try to improve on yesterday. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, that's fantastic. So he contends that it's this interplay of dissatisfaction and satisfaction that creates the tension that makes him want to improve. And for me, it's the exact same way. Mm-hmm. I want to know that at the end of each day, I gave it everything I got. So when I lay down at night, I don't want any regrets. I want to know that I stood before God. If I die and stand before God, that I don't have any regrets of that day. Mm-hmm. I've lived to the fullest. I've gave it my all. But when I get up that next morning, I want this dissatisfaction in me to say, you know what, I don't want yesterday to define me.
Right.
I don't want the best that I have done set the gold standard for the rest of my life. I want to continue to improve. One of my, proxy heroes would be John Wooden, and the great basketball coach, and we'll review his book, by the way, on leadership.
All right.
But he said this one time in a book that I was reading. I just I wrote it down, and it's actually been I've got it at my desk and different places like around where I work, and the phrase is "make today your masterpiece." I think that's fantastic. Make today your masterpiece, not yesterday, mm-hmm. not the best you've ever done. Make right now your masterpiece. And I think that's a good rule to live by. And, of course, as I mentioned a while ago, you've heard that the good is the enemy of great, but best is the enemy of better. Mm-hmm. So make today your masterpiece. Now, he concludes the introduction of the book by keeping in mind 4 things that can help you get better, and I'll just mention them. He says, learn something new. So ask yourself, when is the last time I learned something for the first time? So ask yourself, when is the last time you learned something for the first time? Think about it.
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
That's so deep I'm drowned. Yeah, learn something new. Right. When's the last time we were just in awe about something because we learned something?
Right.
So learn something new every day, and then try something different. Ask yourself, when is the last time I did something for the first time?
Right.
When's the last time you stepped out on a limb and just did something different?
Yeah.
Try it. You may like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And then find something better. Ask yourself, when's the last time I found something better for the first time? You know, what works better? What is better than this, you know? See something bigger is the fourth thing. Ask yourself, when is the last time I saw something bigger for the first time? And I think those are four key things that you can hone in on that he talks about that really can challenge you in a lot of ways. So keep in mind, everyone can improve and everything can be improved, and every day has improvement possibilities. So I think this book's a great reminder of leaders and how we constantly need to be growing. We constantly need to be shifting and adapting to our surroundings. So I think it's a great book. It's a great read. There may be some things in there you don't agree with. That's fine. There may be some things in there that you think shallow. That's fine too. But for any organization, any business, or any church, I think this is a great place to start.
So one thing that I didn't ask that I probably should have had at the beginning is he a Christian? Does he have a Christian testimony that goes with the book? Or?
Yes, he's a believer, and he was actually a pastor. He started out in Hillham, Indiana, as a pastor of a Wesleyan church, and I think that's right. And grew it. I do remember reading that he did grow it to one of the fastest growing churches in his denomination. Then he went to California and pastored for a while, and a big church, a great church out there, had a lot of success in California. But he began, people started coming to him asking him about, speaking about leadership and mentoring them on leadership, and so that's where it kind of grew and it out of his life from what I've read and understand. So yes, he's a believer, and he's got a great testimony of loving God and living for God, and so he helps a lot of churches in the area of financing. He has one of his companies will come in and help you raise funds to build buildings. He has a good stewardship program, for churches like that. So yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'll have to check him out. I haven't read anything from him yet. So.
Yeah, very good.
All right, very good. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for our show today. This is 004, I believe. We're on number 4. So if you have any questions or comments about the book, by all means, leave them in the comments below. If you have any tips on leadership skills that has helped you in the past,
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, put them in there. Let's listen to that.
Yes,
and see if we can have a conversation there as well. But anyway, like I said, if you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you disliked it, hit the thumbs down. It actually does help us be able to be found by other people looking for podcasts like this.
Not
or
the
just
thumbs down.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, It does. The algorithm does pick that up. So it does help. Whether you like it or not, it does help. So anyway, if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Also, too, if you're watching us on YouTube, we do have, of course, this is a podcast that is going to be out on all the channels. Go find us there. Go read some books. And, of course, if you're listening on the podcast and not, we do have a YouTube channel. So you can check us out there as well, and also go read some books. So anyway, all the books, of course, like always, that we review are listed in the show notes below, or you can pick them up if you'd like through Amazon or whatever other affiliate that we may put on because some people don't like Amazon, but we may add that too. So, but anyway, go find us, share us if you like us, keep listening. And as always, if you got anything else,
go read some books.
Go read some books. As always, God bless, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Take care.